I am so sorry. I forgot I had this on mute. I'll start over. G'day, friends and fans. Welcome to Dave Talks. Sorry. Writing Corner 24. Mixing up my programs now. I'm sorry. I was just on a live stream. Please forgive me. Welcome to Writing Corner 24. Why I don't listen to Stephen King. Now, many, including myself, have read Stephen King's books. And like many, I was not impressed by most. Not all, most. And his memoir, no. I think that's what really turned me off Stephen King. I could possibly forgive his politics and not bring them up, which I won't. Now, Stephen King is a lesson on serendipity. That is, having the right story for the right audience, with the right agent, the right people believing in you, and of course the serendipitous marketing, literary agents, book promoters, editors, all pushing his works throughout the world, without which he would be one of us. If you don't believe me, look at the many talented movies made by horror artists around the world, all doing well and much better than most movies, featuring a Stephen King novella. Most. I am not asking you to believe Stephen King is overrated. I'm not asking you to believe that he is a bad writer, because he is not a bad writer. He is just a well-marketed writer who has produced a lot of fluff, and a lot of his stories are bloated with the same subplots. But he is a class lesson on getting yourself published and promoted. And for that, it is a lesson well worth learning. That never settle for less than qualified people to do your editing or marketing. Don't accept one offer until you've got all offers. Of course, he was at a time where competition for a writing gig was very little. There were only a few hundred authors every year competing to be one of the 8 or 10 books published that month. One of the things that made Stephen King popular was he was cheap, and still to this day is cheap. That is, he doesn't ask for much, and he doesn't get paid much, and a lot of his books don't sell as well as you think they do. That's why he's rarely on bestseller lists. But when he does, it's a splash, a noise, a party, because he has numerous fans and promoters, which is where most of his money goes, by the way, promotion. It's a pay-to-win industry, and he has paid well to win. He has chosen fame, and so be it. But his book has led many to conclude that he's famous for not knowing jack. He's often been called the gift of bad advice, because he also rarely listens to his own advice. He's very good at giving advice, rarely takes it. But anybody who reads his memoir will know that he is a gift of the gab. He can talk about himself for hours, but he won't tell you how to write, nor teach you how to write. Just say, this is what I did. But he had serendipity. Remember, he has the advantage of decades of success, decades of promotion, decades of the American obsession with the great American writer. nepotism in many languages, has seen his success because he cozies up to the right politicians. But rule 1 of Stephen King, don't use passive voice. I'm sorry, most people, yes, read, write, and speak in passive voice. Why? Because it is a softer, kinder, more expressive variation of language. Rule 2, don't use adverbs. I'm sorry, adverbs have a purpose. They exist for a purpose. And in colorful, flowing language, adverbs are your friend. Rule 3, don't use a long word where you can choose a short one. Stephen King writes for dummies. He is a dummy who writes for dummies. Big words are hard to pronunciate. What's asphyxiation means? He choked to death. Yeah. Who ever heard of a coroner saying he choked? No, it's asphyxiation. But he likes to dumb people down. The English language has its roots in German, Brit, Latin, Greek, Celt, French, Italian, and Spanish. As you know, Italian is a modernized, doesn't even have its roots directly in Latin either. But they all European languages spread from and were created by academics, believe it or not, over time. Writers were the ones who defined language. Shakespeare, French artists, particularly in French cinema. Even the Dutch academics have trimmed words for being imprecise or too generalized. But the real rules of writing are be yourself, pay attention to what you write, be proud of what you wrote, and whatever ever happens, you have written a masterpiece, because one man's trash is another man's masterpiece. Stephen King is not for everybody. He claims to have universal appeal. This is not true. He has sometimes written books that had universal appeal. Other times, a lot of his books, like It, were marketed on their controversy and heavily promoted because It has been remade and remade and remade many times, trying to capitalize on the few famous things that he has made. But It wasn't famous for Stephen King writing it. It was famous for Tim Curry's excellent performances to Kill a Clown. That's what made It famous. You may be thinking, I'm the next Stephen King. Don't be. Be the next. Be you. Because every writer, bar those who have made huge strides in writing, and I don't think Stephen King's one of them. I don't think J.K. Rowling is one of them. I do not think in 100 years' time there will be a Joan Collins novel to be seen. There are many romance novels, and they will not make more than a brief impact. Byron and many others. This is why there is a movement amongst modern writers, particularly Stephen King, to get rid of the old writers. But you know, that will just get rid of him eventually, but he don't care because he thinks, oh, in 100 years it won't matter. Yes, in 100 years nobody will care about your books. It'll be rewritten, they'll be rewritten, retitled, and regurgitated like so many other pulp fiction. But you do you, because your work is what you should be writing. I have long forgotten all more than I've learned in the last year about writing. Most of what I read and written in school was styles taught to me. try to be like this guy or that guy. Try to be like, if you're writing dystopia, be like Orwell. If you're writing romance, be like, what's her name? Emily something. Or if you want horror, Mary Shelley. Actually, not Stephen King was considered the queen of horror. Or Anne Rice, of whom, my humble opinion, is a much better writer than Stephen King. When she's drunk. Imagine when she's sober. So don't be drunk on power. Don't become a form of insanity. And that is copycat syndrome or imposter syndrome, where you don't think that you deserve to be a good writer, just a fan fiction of Harry Potter or homage to Stephen King. No. You do you. This goes with fantasy. So many people want to be the next Tolkien. Be you. Please, be you. We have too many Tolkiens, Arthur C. Clarkes, and many, many other imitators and posers. And they all fall into the category of fan fiction. Of course, the most famous fan fiction, of course, the Mary Sue. Look it up. It's Star Trek fiction. It's not very long. Of course, you also got My Immortal and many other. Don't think just because 50 Shades of Grey or The Hunger Games or The Maze Runner, all these, what's it called again? YA, young adult books and fiction do well. That's a fad. Trust me. The writers don't get paid lots of money. You may hear about them getting lots of money, promises of lots of money. But as we're seeing with the Hollywood writers' strike, those promises are hollow. Those writers are now on strike saying they didn't get paid anywhere near what they were promised. They were just said, potential earnings of up to. And some people found out when they reached that limit on a $100 million book deal, they didn't get any money after that, even though the book may have gone on to keep selling. You may think J.K. Rowling is saying, out there saying, my royalty checks go, brrr, That's not true. It's not true. She got a huge deal to sign away everything, and she got fired by Warner Brothers. No checks go, brrr. She got fired from the BBC. No checks go, brrr. No royalties, no residuals. Bloomsbury is probably still paying her, of course, because she's on a fixed contract with them. They promised her a lot of money, and that's why they're not taking on many writers either. Publishing is a form of insanity where they basically throw money at one person thinking will make them uber famous because that's what people do. Cling to fame. But as we're seeing, after a few dud books, that fame goes away. Stephen King is more famous for bouncing back from dud books and not caring what people think about him. That's a lesson to be learned. Stop caring about the reviews. I'm trying. I'm really trying. Unfortunately, he has a rabid fan base who will glow. Give him glowing reviews on day one, having never read the book. Trust me, the movies are better than the books. Often not written by Stephen King. That's why you don't see written by Stephen King on many things. And when you do, you get children of corn. Oh, corn. But I'm not doing this because I don't like Stephen King. I'm not doing this because Stephen King's the loudest in a loud bunch of the few who've made it. I'm not clout chasing. I'm not saying, my aim is not to stop people from liking Stephen King or make people hate Stephen King. Just reminding people out there that he's the loudest, but not the most successful. He's not the best. And he ain't going to teach you how to write. That's all I'm saying. Now, you really want the art of writing, I think Samuel Clements. The art of writing. I better check. You want to learn how to write, the art of writing. It's a free, actually, I believe it's still free on Amazon. Or you could, I mean, I know, absolutely, right, that I'd prefer you watch my videos. But I'm not an egotistical asshole. And the art of writing there are unfortunately many versions of the art of writing. Now, one of them by Penguin, 75 years old, is considered the most essential book on playwriting for 75 years. It was the original edition, and it's been rewritten many times, was by Samuel Clements. Better known as Mark Twain. Now, it's actually credited to him, and nobody is actually sure. Some people say he didn't write the art of writing, but he's achieved major works. And again, he's another famous for being famous mostly, but he did some major literary works which never be edited or undone. Now, I want you to just take away the lesson of you do you, because it's made me happier, and I hope I make you happier. Because don't trust yourself chasing fame, chasing clout, trying to cozy up to people who already have 100 people cozied up to them. It's a pay to win industry. Unless you come from a upper middle class background who could bribe some local politicians to get you onto some TV show to talk about your book, which is how most people get on. But I'll gladly interview you, and perhaps maybe then you'll achieve some fame, because I don't know. You never know. But all I'm saying is, again, you do you. Because ultimately, would you rather be famous for being you or famous for being an imposter? Because fame is fleeting. A few bad books, and all of them have it. Do people remember Joan Collins? Dan Brown. After that, one dud movie can kill your career. Or a bad series that or a poor adaptation, or just running out of material. Nobody's going to be not everybody's going to be prolific. Most people have one book in them. You do you, please. Be happy, please. Because ultimately, miserable people make a miserable world. And I want to live in a happy world. Please like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm not paid or sponsored. I do have clicks. Check out my description below, my books, my Patreon. Thank you for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you all in the next video.